Hello everyone. I am Professor Toru Momo of Osaka Seikei College. I would like to start my lecture on the present and future of fashion in Japan. I look forward to your kind attention. Today, I will be speaking in the following vein: the 150th anniversary of the Westernization of Japan's clothing system, current status of fashion in Japan, one vision for the future of fashion. The 150th anniversary of the Westernization of Japan's clothing system. This year, 2022, marks the 150th anniversary of Japan's formal dress system being westernized. We organized two-day symposium in Kyoto on 12 and 13 November to mark the occasion. The symposium features discussions between researchers, journalists, designers, and young craftsmen. On the first day, we talked about how 150 years have come. On the second day, we discussed the current status of fashion in Japan and its future prospect. Each panelist reported from their own perspective, and many topics were discussed in the crosstalk afterwards. Now, let's talk a little about what it was like in the Edo period, before Japan began to dress Western style. In Edo period Japan, not only some of the upper classes, but also the common people enjoyed fashion in their daily lives. One of their role models was ukiyo-e. In them, a fashionable and popular female waitress at the tea house was depicted. Her name is Osen-chan. At about the same time, in France, fashion was reserved for the upper echelons of the court. Its source was the Queen Marie Antoinette. Where and who enjoyed fashion? There is a big difference. This is a picture from the time depicting people in various jobs living in Edo. As you can see, there were already detailed differences in the way people dressed. Edo was a metropolis with the largest population in the world at that time. It was also an advanced eco-city. The people who lived there were very ingenious and thoroughly recycled, so as not to burden the environment. This rag, called boro, is symbolic of the Japanese aesthetic of the time. Worn-out kimono clothes is pasted together and used up to the last. Moreover, there is a certain beauty to it. Recently, boro has been introduced in various parts of the world through exhibitions, and it's attracting a lot of attention. Rhapsody about the Westernization of Japan. In 1853, warship led by U.S. Navy Commander Matthew Perry closed in on Uraga. Japan was threatened by the imperialism of the Western powers. This incident forced Japan to make a major change of direction from the Edo shogunate to the Meiji government. On 12 November 1872, Emperor Meiji issued a decree to change Japanese dress code from the previous style to Western clothing. These were the civilian officials' grand ceremonial dress of the time. From then on, it was stipulated by law that this type of Western-style dress should be worn on formal ceremonial occasions. This marked the start of the full-scale shift to Western-style dress in Japan. The photographs here show the change in the Meiji Emperor. On the left is 1872, before he issued the imperial edict, and on the right is 1873, after he issued the edict. It can be seen that the emperor himself took the initiative and changed to Western-style clothing. This is Tokugawa Yoshinobu, the 15th shogun, the last shogun to the Tokugawa shogunate. On the left, he wears a montsuki hakama, the formal dress of a samurai, and on the right, a frock coat. On the left is Empress Meiji, is bustle style, and on the right is Countess Toda, also in bustle style. This is a true reflection of European fashions at the end of the 19th century. Outside of politicians and the House of Lords, the Westernization of dress spread from civil servants, such as police officers and postal carmen. Western-style dress was also spreading as a uniform for university students. Western-style clothing in post-World War II Japan. These photographs were taken in 1947. A family living in barracks in Yotsuya, Tokyo, Yokohama, which had been burnt to the ground. And this is the new look of Christian Dior, who presented his first independent collection that same year. Dior style, which opened the door to a new era of post-war fashion, also captured the heart of Japanese women, who were still unable to lead normal lives as they wished. The long skirt, made popular throughout the West by the Earl's new look, was equally popular among Japanese women. The shift to Western-style clothing for ordinary women, which had not been widespread before the war, took off after the war. People flocked to fashion shows organized by department stores to catch a glimpse of European fashion. Despite the growing enthusiasm for Western clothing, there were still no ready-made clothing shops. This attracted many women to Western dressmaking schools. Women who studied at the dressmaking school not only made clothes for their families, but also helped their families by opening a dressmaking shop. In the 1970s, young people who studied at the School of Western Dressmaking established during the Western clothing boom, eventually became active in the fashion world, including Paris. Hanae became active in the Paris haute couture world. Kenzo Takada and Issey Miyake achieved success in Paris Pret-a-Porter. The brand they launched remain in Paris to this day. Rei Kawakubo and Yoji Yamamoto, who shocked the Parisian fashion world in 1983 with their pitch black, wholly asymmetrical garments, continue to have a profound influence on their successors. The miniskirt became hugely popular throughout Europe and the US in the late 1960s, following the visit of London fashion model Twiggy to Japan. At the 1970 Japan World Exposition, the majority of companion uniforms were miniskirts. In the 1970s, one new trend after another came and went, and the diversification of Japanese youth fashion accelerated. Young people's sense of fashion rapidly improved. In the 1980s, the magazine *An* started a project in which they took snap of fashionable young people on the street corners and introduced them to the public, which proved popular. The fashion sense of ordinary people was appreciated, was had a great influence on others, just like Osen-chan in ukiyo-e. Popular women's magazines began to feature luxury brands from abroad. Women with Louis Vuitton and Fendi bags in their hand began to be seen on the streets. A short time after Louis Vuitton was introduced in the magazines, the main shop in Paris began to attract queues of Japanese customers. The Japanese were one of the reasons why Louis Vuitton, which had previously been run by a family, began to do business as a joint stock company. In the late 1980s, partly due to the booming economy, the boom in luxury brands spread to young people. Just when I was a university student, my friends were also carrying luxury brand bags to school. On the other hand, I had little interest in luxury brands. Current status of fashion in Japan. In proportion to the diversification of fashion magazines for young people, their fashion has also diversified. It is as if the magazine media and fashion are co-evolving. At the end of the 20th century, individuality was particularly popular among young people in fashion. Everyone was expected to be unique, and in fashion, unusual outfits appeared on the street one after another. Changes in street fashion from the 1990s to the 2010s, from left to right. 1990s Shibuya Shibukaji style, incorporating American casual. 1998 Shibuya Gyaru, characterized by thick sole sandals and pitch black tanned face. 2006 Shibuya Onike, influenced by host club culture. 2006 Daikanyama Lolita K with doll-like dresses. 2015 Shibuya Denim Casual by young women. The look is highly individualistic and flamboyant until around the 2000s, but from the 2010s onwards it tends to become more casual and stylish. The term mass-produced girls, ryosan-gata joshi, has been bandied about for the past few years. The term refers to girls with similar hairstyles, makeup, and outfits, who are not very distinctive and have a similar appearance. In the past, individuality was required, but recently there seems to be a move towards less emphasis on individuality. I am currently teaching fashion to young women at a junior college, and clearly there is a big gap between their sense of dress and that of our generation. However, new talents from the international fashion world are also emerging one after another. Yuima Nakazato is the second Japanese haute couturier in Paris, after Hanae Mori. Tomo Koizumi has participated in the New York collections and is attracting attention for his unique sense of style and abundant use of tools. Lights and shadows of Westernization. The wave of fast fashion that swept across Europe and the US also swept across Japan. Many of them have now left Japan, but at one time many people queued to open new shops and crowds thronged the shops. Fashion changed quickly, and due in part to low prices, people began to shop for new clothes. Mass production encourages mass consumption, which in turn leads to mass disposal. The idea of using up carefully and wearing for a long time, which was part of the Japanese kimono system symbolized by boro, has been lost. One vision for the future of fashion. I am currently conducting research on the origins of human dressing. I believe that the origin of dressing is the drawing of patterns with mud on the skin, which has lost its body hair. The patterns became symbols with meaning and became complex, from which many institutions were created. and the complication of those institutions has co-evolved with material complication. I believe that the patterns that the three maidens took the time to draw on the Queen Mutavani and the opulent dresses of Queen Marie Antoinette have the same structure in terms of complexity, time and effort, and scarcity. The various institutions that built society became more and more complex, and the material complexity of clothing increased accordingly. Capitalism, which has to keep producing endless differences, has added to this diversification. Our modern society is built on the diversified system of clothing. However, I believe that there is a material limit to how each of the 8 billion people can continue to consume and dispose of so much. Fashion is now facing a major problem system: mass production, mass consumption, and mass disposal. The destruction of the global environment and human rights issues caused by this negative chain of events, which is now spreading not only in Japan but all over the world, are being taken up as major problems, and measures are required to deal with them. We Japanese used to live in Edo, a splendid cyclical metropolis that we created, embodying the very SDGs. That was only 150 years ago. At that time, the Japanese had the sense of beauty, symbolized by boro, of using up carefully. There was a balance between dressing fashionably and wearing clothes with care for a long time. And that sense of beauty is now being introduced to the rest of the world through exhibitions, and it's highly acclaimed. I believed that the aesthetic sense of the Japanese people before the Westernization of Japan has been sought after through the ages. The world of cutting edge fashion has also begun to pay attention to this aesthetic. I believe that next, we Japanese ourselves need to look back at the path we have followed, remember the important values that are there, embody them, and present them to the world. Thank you for your attention.